Mic check, 1, 2. Studio Steve back at it again. We're talking game 4, Knicks and Pacers. We're talking game 4, OKC Thunder and Minnesota Timberwolves. We are recording this on May the 28th at a little after 1:20 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, a few hours before tip-off of game 5 between the Wolves and the Thunder. But we are going to start with the Knicks and Pacers. That was the game of last night. What a game, man. I feel like I've said this repeatedly after every single Knicks and Pacers game. What a game. I said at the beginning of this series, this was going to be the holy shit series, that every game you're going to be like, holy shit, did that just happen? It's pretty much happened every single game so far. And it was a dog fight last night, let me tell you. We got to start by recognizing Tyrese Halliburton. Let me read off the stat line: 32 points, 15 assists, 12 rebounds, 5 3-pointers, 0 turnovers. And I know the turnover thing has been overly accentuated by every basketball broadcast, and anyone that's willing to talk about it over the last 24 hours. If you have followed Tyrese Halliburton's career, you know that he very rarely turns the ball over anyways. He averages 1 turnover on 9 assists a game in the regular season. Not saying it's not impressive. Let's just chill. Brother's been doing this since he came into the league. The stars did come out for both teams. Siakam, another 30-point performance, just been steady the entire way. Brunson finished with 31, Cat with 24, OG with 22. These games have been separated by less than 3 points on average for the entire series. So all of these games are coming down to one possession, essentially. It's just been amazing from start to finish. The Knicks starters, this was something I wanted to look at prior to the series. In the regular season, average 41 minutes a game. In this particular series, 37. So they've shrunk the amount of minutes that the players are playing on average for the starters for the Knicks, which means Tibbs has been going to his bench. And on that note, he went to Precious Achiuwa. I've been talking about this from the start of the series. Not that Precious is going to win you the fucking series or he's going to come through and be this amazing factor, but at least he can steal you 4 or 5 minutes a game, get some rebounds, give you some energy, and just give a different look, get some rest on the starters. It was exciting. It was like seeing Bigfoot because he only played for like 2 minutes and 14 seconds. Actually, I have the stat right here in front of me. Let me just quickly pull it up. Precious Achiuwa came in 2 minutes and 24 seconds. He got a rebound. The very first possession he was in, he got a rebound. And I was like, oh shit, Precious minutes are going to pay off. No, they didn't. He only played 2 minutes and 24 seconds. Mitchell Robinson, again, effective on the glass. He's been averaging 4 offensive rebounds a game. He's just a beast down low, and Pacers have clearly had some issues guarding him. I don't see who wouldn't. The guy's a fucking monster. The Pacers starters minutes per game, 34, so fairly equal between both teams. This was something I was trying to track prior to the series starting. The Pacers, of course, are playing 11 players consistently. Their bench is averaging 13 minutes a game, always getting significant contributions from TJ McConnell every single game. Seems like the second quarter is like McConnell town. Huge contribution from Mathurin in game 4. We'll touch on that after he's had a pretty shaky couple of games here in this series. He finally came through game 4 yesterday. I will say we're just going to run through this game as the Pacers did. Pacers were running after every single make or miss, and to their credit, so was New York. New York was matching that intensity. It was a dogfight right from the start. The first 6 minutes of the game seemed like a track meet. They were just going back and forth, regardless of who scored or missed. Both teams were running. New York obviously trying to match the intensity of the crowd, and also playing under some level of desperation, knowing that if they lose, they're going to be down 3-1. As I said earlier, back and forth. Pacers hit 3 threes in the first 3 minutes. They go 6 for 7 in the quarter. It being a series of lead changes and runs, the Pacers go on their run, 13-4 run in the first quarter. The Knicks answer that with a 9-2 run. There was 10 ties and 13 lead changes in the first half overall. So this game was back and forth, as the rest of the series has been. Pacers were up front on the fast break points, which has been pretty much characteristic of them, not only throughout the season, the playoffs, but this series as well. 7 fast break points in that opening quarter of game 4. Overall, 22-9 in favor of the Pacers, fast break points in the entire game. Carlisle, I thought, uncharacteristically used a challenge in the first quarter. He's had so much success keeping his challenges to when it really matters, usually in the fourth quarter. Used it in the first and lost it. And I thought the entire time, I was like, that's the fucking thing that's going to come back and bite them. Playoffs are crazy like that. 7-game series are crazy like that. Sometimes a single moment can be so significant. Fortunately for the Pacers, it wasn't. They lost the challenge, which wasn't a big deal because his stars were playing. Halliburton had 15, 5, and 5 in the first quarter. Siakam finished the first quarter with 13. This has been sort of reminiscent of a previous game as well, but the Pacers got into the bonus with 4:43 left in the first, but they didn't really take advantage of it. And they didn't do that in the fourth quarter either when they ran into the same circumstance. And we'll touch on that in just a few moments. I think that is something that's of real interest here, and we talk about it all the time in the playoffs, is closing quarters. And this has been something that Indiana has done really well in this series. We've talked about it an awful lot. Indiana finished the first quarter on a 12-5 run, scoring 43 total points in the first. They didn't even score 43 total points in the second half of last game. So what a turnaround. That home court advantage is really cooking for the Pacers when they get going. Second quarter, Knicks came out, I thought, really great defensively. The pressure was awesome in the second. The Pacers went 3 for 10 on field goal attempts in the first 6 minutes of the second quarter. Towns, which has been pretty common, I guess, now in this series, is carrying the Knicks every time Brunson is going to the bench. Brunson was on the bench for a long stretch. Cat scored 12 points in the second quarter. I will say with Cat as well, man, he's just got to stick to the idea of playing bully ball in the post. There are so many guys that he has the size advantage over on the Pacers that he doesn't necessarily take advantage of that over and over. And I guess it's the Knicks' fault from an offensive perspective as well. It's not recognizing that, not getting him into pick and rolls and getting those switches, getting him down on the blocks against guys who are much smaller, who he can dominate. He needs to do that, especially when he is the main offensive driver when Brunson is on the bench. But like I say, he's been playing excellent in either case, Brunson being on the bench or off the bench. In this case, it was Brunson being on the bench. He needs to stay away from those wild threes. Man, has he shot in a lot of wild threes in this series. Get on the block, bully some guys down low, take advantage of the mismatches. Miles Turner as well, on the note of Cat, I feel like he just can't guard Cat in space. Cat is flying by him on dribble drives and just getting to his right hand. Stan Van Gundy mentioned this yesterday in the broadcast. Cat went to his right hand every single time, every single offensive possession, and he was blowing right by Miles Turner. Miles Turner just doesn't have the foot speed. I feel like Siakam might be a better matchup in short spurts anyway. You don't want to play Siakam the entire game on Cat because you need his offensive production. But his lateral speed, his foot speed can keep up with Cat, I think, a little bit better than Miles Turner can. Miles Turner seems to be getting shown up every time he has to guard Cat in space. Mathurin, again, had an overall great game. He had 8 points in 5 minutes in the second. Finished the entire game with 20 points, 5 for 8 from the field, 10 for 11 on free throws. That sounds crazy because it's Mathurin, and he's not really a guy that gets to the line as much as he did in game 4, but a lot of that was in garbage time. But as we know with this series, especially, every single point matters. So 10 of those points coming from the free throw line for Mathurin was a huge advantage for the Pacers. Pardon me. And then again, and another important note, talking about these runs towards the end of the quarters, closing the quarters out, the Pacers finished the second on a 6-0 run, leading into the third, where the Knicks start the third quarter with back-to-back turnovers. Now, talking about the second half, outside of all of the statistics, there are some really important things that happened in the second half of this game. We got to take a moment to recognize Aaron Nesmith. Brunson came out of the gates in the first quarter as he needed to, as the team needed to, and as we expected him to. On the brink of being down 3-1, he needed to come out with a lot of fire, and he did. 13 points in the first quarter, but only 3 points in the next 15 minutes after that. And a lot of that, if not all of it, credited to Aaron Nesmith and his defense. Absolutely fucking relentless. Just picking him up 94 feet, making sure that he knows somebody is on him all the time. Absolutely Velcroed right to Jalen Brunson the entire game. I thought that was a huge game changer. Coming into the game, wasn't sure if he was even going to play because of the ankle injury. He scored 16 points. He Velcroed up with Jalen Brunson all game. Huge difference maker. It didn't stop Brunson or the Knicks from getting to the free throw line. However, Brunson went 11 of 12 from the free throw line. There was a stretch there in the fourth quarter where it seemed like New York was going to the line every single possession. And it wasn't about bad officiating at all. It was just the level of aggression and grit that they were playing with. And as you know, you watch sports long enough, especially with basketball, the team that plays aggressively gets the whistle. And that seemed to be what was going on in the second half for the Knicks. Conversely, as was the case with the first quarter, the Pacers got into the bonus with 7:52 left in the fourth quarter, and in my opinion, did not seize the opportunity. In fact, they went cold. They scored 0 field goals for the next 3 minutes and 26 seconds after getting into the bonus. So I figured that was going to be something that was going to come back and haunt them. Fortunately for Pacers and Pacers fans, it didn't. But in the moment, it seemed like something they could have taken advantage of and didn't. The Knicks on the other end did, and we're getting to the line. They chipped away at the lead. They went on a 10-2 run. And back to Mathurin, and maybe I'm talking about him too much, and maybe it's because he's Canadian, and so am I. But I got to point out, when there are players in the playoffs that come in for short stretches that are unexpected bonuses that you didn't expect them to give you what they gave you in that game, in that moment, Mathurin was that guy in game 4. He played with such an edge. He was getting to a lot of loose balls, deflections, rebounds. He hit some shots. He was going to the free throw line, as I said, 10 of 11, playing aggressive. He gave the Pacers momentum. And then the last kind of 3 points that I want to touch on about the second half, and if not the entire game, but in the second half, where the hell was Miles McBride? Miles McBride, Deuce McBride. Can we just stick to one name? Miles McBride, Deuce McBride, same person. Where was he in the second half? Now, again, not saying Miles McBride's going to win you the game, but similar to the Mathurin experience, you get a guy that comes in, hits a couple of big shots, gives you some energy. If we remember in game 3, there was a point in the third quarter, I believe it was, of game 3 where McBride came in, scored 7 straight points, drew an offensive foul. Those types of plays, those types of moments change the momentum, change the pace, change the confidence level of the team itself. I feel like he could have added some of that. Landry Shamet played 3 less minutes, or 3 more minutes, 3 less minutes. Landry Shamet ended the game with 11 minutes of playing time, and Miles McBride finished the game with 14 minutes of playing time. I don't know, man. I ain't going to tell Tibbs how to coach, but I feel like McBride is a more productive player, especially offensively. And when you're playing the Indiana Pacers, you need all the offense you can get. 2 plays, which I thought were really pivotal towards the end of the game, were with 1 minute and 44 seconds left in the fourth quarter. The Pacers had an inbound play underneath the hoop. It seemed like no one was going to get open. They were either going to have to burn a timeout, or it was going to be a 5-second violation. They were going to turn the ball over. Siakam gets a backdoor cut. He's being guarded by Josh Hart. Josh Hart is a fantastic player defensively, and this was a slip up, right? You got to play 48 full minutes, man. There was 1:44 left in the game. So this was a slip up, and this actually was Josh Hart's 6th foul as well. So not only do you get Josh Hart out of the game for the last 1:44, but it turns into a Siakam free throw and a major basket that Indiana needed at that point in the game. At the free throw line, Siakam cuts backdoor to the hoop, essentially under the hoop, and he just gets a nice little bounce pass and gets an easy 2 and 1. Josh Hart's fouls out of the game. The reason I bring that up is Josh Hart being a really great defender. And again, not telling Josh Hart how to play defense, but in that situation, when you have the offensive player wants to get to the basket. Of course, they want to be as close to the basket as possible. The inbound is coming from underneath the hoop. Josh Hart needed to have his back to the basket to prevent Pascal Siakam from crashing down the lane and getting that easy hoop. Instead, he was on the reverse side. So he ended up getting on the flip side of Siakam, and Siakam took advantage of that, darted straight to the hoop, got an easy pass, and won. Hart gets fouled out of the game. Big free throws. There was a similar possession as well, a baseline inbound pass for Indiana shortly after this. 2 back-to-back inbound possessions off the baseline, which I thought Indiana executed really well. In New York, didn't from a defensive perspective, which led to 2 of the bigger baskets to close out this game. The second one here was Mikal Bridges, who is arguably their best wing defender, and he was guarding Obi Toppin at the time. And there was in that play again, same thing. The Knicks look like they're playing fantastic defense. Pacers look like they may not get the ball in, and Aaron Nesmith darts to the far left corner 3-point. Brunson is with him the entire time. Brunson is right with Nesmith the entire time. For whatever reason, Mikal Bridges shades over and decides to follow that action to the corner, and Obi Toppin, who Mikal Bridges is guarding, just starts walking backwards really easily and is like, shit, am I this open? And next thing you know, he gets an easy pass. He has all the time in the world to set his feet, nails a 3-pointer, 3 of his 5 points, right? So this is what I'm talking about. You get these bench guys in, those 5 points were huge from Toppin. Those 3 points were even bigger when in the grand scheme of things. So again, defensive slip up. Mikal Bridges, really great defender, decides to shade over and chase Nesmith to the corner when Brunson's already there, leaves his man, Toppin backs out to the 3-point line, gets a huge 3-pointer. I feel like those 2 possessions really sealed the game for the Pacers. Crazy games, right? Crazy games with the Pacers and Knicks. Going back to the Garden for Game 5 is going to be an absolute fucking zoo. And let me say this, and I have said this on social media in the last little while, commenting on crazy Knicks fans who've just been like elated, and you know what? I ain't gonna get mad at them for being elated for the run that the Knicks have been on. But I think if the Knicks win, the city is gonna obviously, go nuts. They're gonna be super ecstatic. If the Knicks lose, I wouldn't be surprised if those motherfuckers rioted and broke their city up. I hope they don't. I certainly hope they don't. But the way they acted when they won the game to get into the conference finals, and the city was absolutely mental, like they won the world championship. In a less significant game, if that is the response that the city is getting, imagine how they're going to feel if they lose. Knicks fans put so much into this every season that the Knicks are fairly good, a little good, showing signs of promise. Oh my God, we might win the championship. They might lose their fucking minds if they lose Game 5. I think the Garden is going to be nuts. Who knows what's going to happen? All these games have been separated by a basket. It can go either way. If Indy wins on the road again in Madison Square Garden, back-to-back years to close out the Knicks, we got to stop with this overrated. First off, the overrated shit with Tyrese Halliburton. If you are one of the NBA players who voted in this anonymous vote that he was the most underrated player in the league, and you have been on the Bucks, the Cavs, or the Knicks, karma is rearing its ugly head, and you should have just let sleeping dogs lie. That's all I'm going to say. Game 5 coming up in a couple of days here. Tomorrow night, Knicks and Pacers. Lord knows what's going to happen. All I know is the Garden is going to be absolutely nuts. Let's talk about the next game. Thunderwolves, Game 4. This happened yesterday. 2 days ago, and Game 5 goes tonight. A couple of things that I wanted to touch on here a little bit differently than what we did with the Pacers in Knicks series. But prior to this series starting, I had 3 things that I wanted to look for the Wolves, and 3 things that I wanted to look for with OKC, and then just wanted to touch on some of their X factors as well. The first thing I wanted to talk about with the Wolves was, does Ant have a signature game in him? He certainly did. Game 3, he was fucking unbelievable. 30 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, 12 for 17 shooting, 5 for 8 on threes. More importantly, he played with the swagger, confidence, the force, and athleticism that he is known to play with, which makes him better than 90% of the league. He just hasn't been able to gain momentum from that or make that consistent throughout this series. Second point I had with Minnesota was, could they keep their composure? I thought for the first 2 games, the Wolves didn't understand how to handle the OKC defense, but they settled in. Randall and Ant have had 2 good games out of 4. The bench has played well in the last 2 games, but they struggled in the first 2. As far as keeping their composure is concerned, taking care of the ball is an issue. The Wolves are averaging 16.5 turnovers a game against a team that thrives on your mistakes. And OKC, conversely, is averaging 10 steals a game. So taking care of that ball seems to be an issue for the Wolves. They're going to have to do a better job of that tonight and moving forward if they have any games left. Is zone defense the answer to Shea? This was one of my main points coming into this series because if you look back at that Nugget series against OKC that went 7 games, the Nuggets had a lot of success playing defense against OKC. Namely, what that does is it shuts down Shea's ability to get to his spots. His spots are the mid range, anywhere in the mid range. But the zone allows you to clog up the paint. It allows you to have multiple defenders. When you have a team like the Wolves who have super long, super athletic players, that, in my opinion, would be a great way to play against Shea's strengths. For some reason, they haven't gone to it. If they have gone to it, it's been for such a small sample size that you can't really gauge whether or not it's working or not. Um, and I thought another thing that playing the zone would do would make OKC a 3-point shooting team. Thus far in this series, OKC is only shooting 37% from three. So if they decided to implement the zone, you're playing a zone against a team that's not shooting the three well, whose main player likes to get to his spots in the mid range. You've shut down both of those. You've turned the tap off on both of those. Where are they going to go from there? Hasn't happened. So we'll see if there's any adjustments going into Game 5 tonight. For the OKC Thunder, I said, could the Thunder win the rebounding matchup? They are outsized by the front line for sure of the Wolves. The Wolves are +5 on rebounds right now. It could be higher if they utilize their size more, in my opinion. It's a fairly moot point with the exception of Game 4, I would say, where they were just flying around. OKC was flying around, had 11 offensive rebounds in that game. A second point, again, with OKC, and this is sort of mirrors the point about the zone defense with the Wolves, was could OKC hit enough threes to answer the zone defense? Hasn't been an issue because the Wolves haven't played a zone defense. OKC's not really hitting threes anyway, so maybe that point sort of answers itself. 37% a game for the series, as I say. And what does OKC's half-court offense look like? Again, some of this was contingent on a zone defense, but the Wolves, I thought, could pressure Shea a lot more than they are, if not full court, at least as soon as he crosses the half-court line, to send a person at him, if not 2 people at him, just to get the ball out of his hands. What that would do is it would force OKC to operate an offense where he is not the starting point or where he is not in control of the ball. They haven't really done that at all, with the exception of Game 3, where they came out in the first quarter and were blitzing everything at half court and at the top of the 3-point line, including Rudy Gobert, who had 2 really big steals that game. They just haven't done it consistently. They didn't do it in Game 4 for sure, and the results showed. One of the things that I didn't account for when I was thinking about the OKC half-court offense was, in my opinion, I thought the rest of the guys weren't going to be able to pick up the slack. But fuck, have they ever. Chet Holmgren and J-Dub, Jalen Williams, have had such an amazing series, and I just didn't predict the leap that both of them have taken. So even if the Wolves decided to run a zone, well, now you got those guys playing at such a high level that I don't know if it would be as effective. But again, we don't know until you try. This game, again, aggressive dog fight right from the beginning. Aggressive stance for both teams on the first possession. Right from the get-go, right? So right from the get-go, you have a Chet Holmgren block, leads to a fast break. J-Dub hits 3 the first play of the game, right out of the gate. This is exactly what's going to happen. This is how we're going to play. So OKC answering the bell, right? Coming back and saying, we haven't forgotten how to play basketball. We haven't forgotten who we are. We're going to play exactly how we've played this season, which won us 68 games. They came out and proved it right away from the get-go. Great offensive rebounding by OKC, grit on defense. Dort was staying up at the 3-point line and full court pressure on Ant. So as I say, like I feel like if Minnesota could replicate that defensive pressure on Shea, maybe they would get the same results. Perhaps, I'm not sure. But Dort being way up on Ant, right from the inbound, if not at half court, 3-point line, wherever Ant went, somebody touched him. Even if the OKC player wasn't guarding him, they would just give him a little bump. They'd give him a little tap, really similar to what Houston was doing to Steph Curry in the first round of the playoffs this year as well. Ant, only 1 shot attempt in the first quarter. I'm not going to cut it, man. with 35 seconds left in the quarter. So you go 11 minutes and 30 seconds, and Ant doesn't shoot the ball once. That's a problem if you're Minnesota. The Thunder defense was just back to being really pesty. They were fucking all over the place, flying all over the place. And I think during the telecast, Doris Burke talked about a zone defense that they were playing, or a box and one that they were playing. There was no zone defense. There was no box and one. They were just playing defense, and they were helping and committing to that help, and then getting back to their original players the way they did with Denver series. As soon as Jokic turned his shoulder, there was a second guy there, and that guy would not even stay the entire time. He would just show, and then Jokic would turn back the other way, and that player was already sprinting back to his defensive assignment. OKC was doing that all game, and I thought that really caused a lot of problems with Ant specifically. The rest of the team shot the fucking lights out, and we'll get there in a second. 7 turnovers for the Wolves in the first quarter. Just can't happen. Just can't happen. I mean, they played a nearly flawless offensive game. You're going to turn the ball over to a team, as I mentioned at the top here, of a team that just thrives on you turning the ball over. You're just shooting yourself in the foot, man. Can't do that. Going back to the idea of bench players coming in and being productive and giving you really valuable minutes, Terrence Shannon Jr. again for the second straight game came in, started the second quarter, 7 points in 3 minutes. Again, you get contributions from guys across the board. Your superstars can do a little bit less. Granted, they still have to do what is required from a superstar level player to take that team to victory. But when you got guys coming in, shooting threes, getting offensive rebounds, the pressure comes off you a little bit. Now you're in a little bit more of a relaxed state. The flow of the game is starting to come your way. So Terrence Shannon Jr., again, solid contribution, 7 points in 3 minutes in the second quarter. The Wolves bench at one point had 19 of the team's 38 points early in that game. The bench had 19 of the 38 points. Which some of that was Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Shout out, my Canadian brother again. Had 11 points, 3 threes off the bench in the second quarter. 30 total bench points for the Wolves in the first half. So difference from how the rest of the series has gone. We were kind of waiting for Naz Reid and DiVincenzo to wake up. They certainly did in this game, and the bench didn't disappoint for the T-Wolves. Going back to the pressure on Anthony Edwards, Dort, similar to how Neesmith was Velcroed on Brunson in that series, Dort is just fucking Velcroed on Ant the entire game. And when he wasn't there, it was Caruso on Ant. And when Caruso wasn't there, it was Wallace on Ant. So they were just causing havoc with their defense. And you can imagine from a guy from Ant's perspective who complained earlier in the year about constantly getting double teamed, he must have fucking hated it. Sorry, brother. When you're that good, you're going to get double, triple teamed, and they're going to throw every good defender at you. First half, again, really great from the perspective of a basketball fan wanting to see an aggressive, assertive game from both teams. Both teams playing with a lot of intention and a lot of force. The refs, I think, let it go a little bit, which is great as well. Let these motherfuckers play. We're a couple of games away from the finals. They want to put everything on the floor, lay it all on the floor, leave it all on the floor. Let these guys play basketball, man. After the first 20 minutes of this game, though, and talking about all the defensive pressure he was facing, only 1 of 2 from the field for 4 points. Julius Randle, 1 of 4 from the field with 4 turnovers, only 5 points. Conversely, Shea, 21 points in the first half. J-Dub, 15 in the first half. The Wolves, 12 turnovers in the first half. And again, OKC, 11 offensive rebounds. So, story of the game is turnovers and superstars not playing their roles for the T-Wolves. At the half, 13 turnovers in total for the Wolves. Sorry, did I just say 12? It was 13 total turnovers. They gave up the 11 offensive rebounds, as I mentioned. Ant and Randall just not getting it done. But the rest of the team in combination shot 63% from the field. So you shoot 63% from the field. You get 30 bench points. Your 2 main superstars are playing like shit, and you're only down by 7 going into the second half. You've got to feel fairly good about yourself if you're Minnesota, knowing that, if Ant and Randall can get their shit together, we got a really good chance of winning this game because everyone else is playing fantastic. And then speaking of that, Third quarter starts. Ant gets his first shot attempt with 1 minute and 40 seconds into the third quarter. So at the 10:20 mark, Ant gets his first shot attempt. He didn't get his first shot attempt in the first half until 11 minutes and 30 seconds gone. So with 35 seconds left in the first half, he took his first shot. With 1 minute and 40 seconds into the second half, he takes his first shot. So I'm watching this game thinking, all right, Ant-Man's back. Someone said some shit to him in the locker room and he's going to come through and follow up the same way he did in game 3. Not necessarily. We'll get to that in a few minutes. Game was back and forth, man. There was a stretch of 3 minutes in that third quarter where it was just fucking tooth and nail, back and forth play. One person, was it Rudy Gobert? Let me just check my notes here. Rudy Gobert runs a pick and roll, which he is absolutely horrendous at, but he ran a successful pick and roll, and he just dunked all over Hartenstein. Dunked on Hartenstein's entire career. He fucking slammed it on him. But just a couple possessions later, Chet can move. Chet was shooting smoothly. The release was looking good. His feet were looking set. He looks really good in this series. He seems to have found something. He figured something out over the last couple of games. He looked really comfortable. He looked really confident. He shook up Naz Reid so hard, gave him a little spin move, dunked all over him. And this shit was just back and forth in the third. There was a couple of plays where I felt like Shea could have got the and one, but he still scored anyway. All this talk about the foul merchant. Look, man, if you think you got fouled and you still scored, you still are trying to score every time. The fact that you get fouled is just because you get fouled. The foul merchant shit is out of control. And we know statistically, if anyone has seen the stats, he is number 12 on the list of MVPs who have averaged a certain amount of free throws per game. So we can quit all that shit. A couple things that I wanted to mention about the ABC broadcast. This has nothing to do with the game, but just about my personal preferences. I hate when they do these 10-second splitters where you're watching a commercial break and then for 10 seconds they just show this random highlight and you're like, oh shit, the game's on, and then it's not, and then they go to another set of 2 commercials. Just run the commercial set and bring the fucking game back. That's all I gotta say. Secondly, Mike Breen. Love Mike Breen. One of the best broadcasters in basketball history. Can you please stop talking about Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Shea being fucking cousins? We get it. We know they're cousins. We don't got to keep bringing it up. We don't got to keep talking about it. It's getting played the fuck out. Now, I love these two guys. They're Canadian. I'm Canadian. They ran it at the FIBA World Cup. We get it. They're fucking cousins. Let's get over it, guys. There was talking about the second half here, and again, going back to Chet Holmgren. Chet Holmgren playing with amazing confidence, looks smooth, no hesitation. Doesn't matter who was guarding him. He's getting to the hoop. He's hitting threes. He's just been playing fantastic. There was a funny play with 7:40 to go in the fourth quarter, where Caruso, it was a goaltending call against the Timberwolves, and Caruso made this cut under the basket. And if you go back and watch this, I think he knew the defender was coming over and was close enough that his shot could potentially get blocked. So he didn't even try to shoot the ball to actually score it. He laid it up. And if you watch this replay, he lays it up. He's standing underneath the backboard and he just throws it straight up off the backboard, knowing the defender is right there, and the defender pins it on the backboard after it's already hit the glass, and they get called for goaltending. If you go back and watch it, he's definitely not trying to score. I think it was just a really savvy vet move because it got them that 2 points. It got the goaltending against the Wolves, who then got further frustrated. That guy, and there was a secondary play as well with Caruso towards the end of the game when it was just getting into a free throw matchup when they were fouling after every make. Where there was 5 seconds on the clock. Ant gets the ball in the backcourt off the inbound. And normally you could just foul right away, right? You're going to foul right away, and then it's going to go back and forth. Each team's going to foul the moment they can. Caruso, being the savvy vet that he is, he burned about 2.5 to 3 seconds off the clock, just letting Ant bring the ball up court, knowing that he's not going to try and shoot the ball from beyond half court. And as soon as he got up to the half court line, boom, quick foul. 3 seconds are shaved off the clock, and giving Minnesota less of a chance to have a second shot. After these next free throws that come up, OKC is going to secure the board, go back and win the game, which is exactly what happened. J-Dub, 14 points in the fourth. huge shot against DiVincenzo with 140. He goes on his own personal 5-0 run. Chet Holmgren, which I felt like was the block that sealed the victory of the game with 35 seconds to go. Was just, and I think it was Naz Reid. I can't remember who it was that he blocked, but it was just emblematic of how he has figured something out over the last few games, where his defensive pressure, which has never wavered, has even gotten stronger as his offensive game has gotten more smoother and without hesitation, just playing freely, playing loose, and scoring. But that block with 35 seconds to go by Chet, amazing, amazing execution. Let me just read off a couple of things here. I've said a lot of shit, and I just want to sum this all up. So some of it makes sense here. In summation, I looked at my 3 keys for each team. Ant has had his breakout signature game. Mind you, it hasn't been consistent, but he's had it. So whatever. Question answered. The Wolves have kept their composure for the most part, aside from the turnovers. Their supporting cast has gotten better as the series has gone on. Wolves are +5 in rebounds for the series. OKC shooting 37% from 3. My X factors, the little 3, as I call them, for Minnesota, outperforming OKC's X factors over especially last game. DiVincenzo last game, 21 points. Naz Reid, 11 points. Nickeil Alexander-Walker had the game of his life, 23 points, 9 of 15 shooting, 5 threes. This is going to blow your mind. The Wolves won these offensive stats in game 4. Rebounds, assists, points off turnovers, fast break points, points in the paint, second chance points, free throw attempts, free throw makes, field goal percent, 3-point percent, free throw percent. They won every single one of those offensive categories. They shot 63% from the field in the first half. They somehow still lost this game. How did they lose this game? I think 2 things. And not that it's only 2 things, but how the fuck can you lose this game after winning all of those offensive categories? Loosely, my answers: OKC has a legitimate big 3, including the MVP. SGA outperforming Ant in every possible way, I feel like, including leadership on and off the court. The Wolves stars have been so inconsistent, turning the ball over lots. You know what could have really helped the Wolves offensively is Karl Anthony Towns right about now. Aside from that, they win all these statistical categories. Their 2 stars play like shit, right? Let's be honest. Ant and Randall played like shit. Your supporting cast plays that well at home. You need something out of your stars, and then this game could be different. On the flip side of that, OKC, let's read off the numbers of their stars. J-Dub finishes the game 34 points, 5 assists, 3 steals, 6 3-pointers, 66% from 3, 54% from the field. Chet finishes the game 21 points, 7 rebounds, 3 blocks, 64% from the field, 50% from 3. Shea, another fucking masterful performance, 40 points, 10 assists, 9 rebounds, 12 of 14 from the free throw line. That is why OKC is winning, and that is why Minnesota isn't. Their stars cannot match the offensive explosion and powerhouse that the OKC Thunder are. They're turning the ball over. Ant's got to do something. I think that game 3 performance to game 4 performance were 2 totally different people. I don't know what's going on, and I've said this a couple of times throughout the playoffs. I feel like something is going on where he has just not had the same level of confidence that he is used to having or playing with. I think at this point, teams know each other enough. It's not about strategy, game plan. It's about fucking intensity and the will and want to win. Will they come out and do that today in game 5? It's on in a few hours. I don't know. I'm thrilled to find out. I've said a lot. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate everyone's support. Studio Steve signing out. We'll catch up after game 5 after both games. Peace out.